Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Talking Heads' 1980 album, Remain in Light. It's pretty good. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks I added to my playlist. 5 out of 8, so 1 over half here. This album's good, although the presence of a really big hit in Once in a Lifetime does really help pull up the overall quality. I think without it, the album would clearly be missing something. This album is very kind of Pink Floyd-esque. It's got longer experimental tracks that don't seem to go much of anywhere, but are still pretty good to listen to. As a result, this album flows alright, but it doesn't really have a unifying theme or anything to really go beyond any sort of texture or stuff like that. The individual tracks have a lot of texture, but overall the album doesn't really go much of anywhere. Despite being pretty short, the album still feels full because most of the songs are long and can get kind of boring if they were much longer. If the album had some more tracks on it, I think it actually might have that problem. I think it might get boring if they added even 2 or 3 tracks here. As it is, there's still some tracks here which are pretty janky and don't listen very well, but most of the tracks make up for that with some interesting experimental new wave sounds, which give most of the songs their energy and the album its flow, really. Without the experimentation and new wave energy, this album would be significantly worse, for sure. There were no singles released before the album, although the big hit here was definitely Once in a Lifetime. It's one of their most famous songs and basically one of the only ones people would know by then. Additionally, that's my favorite song here, by far. It's the only one that really has enough sort of pop traditional sensibilities to not sound egregiously wacky, even though compared to the other stuff on the radio, it still sounds really weird, but it's much more listenable than a lot of the other tracks on here. I rank this album second out of the Talking Heads albums I've heard so far. It's definitely higher quality than their first 2 albums, but I don't think it comes together quite as well as their 1979 album, Fear of Music. The addition of a big hit here helps a lot, but I feel like, as a whole album, Fear of Music is the slightly better one. Most of the tracks on Remain in Light are just a little bit too long and winding, where Fear of Music manages to get a better balance between the shorter and longer experimental tracks. Additionally, this album doesn't take my top spot from 1980. That stays with Billy Joel's Glass Houses, which I like a lot more and is definitely better than Remain in Light, in my opinion. Next up is Duran's 2000 album, Pop Trash, Turn of the Millennium. It's not great, but there's 1 or 2 songs on it that are decent, and it's worth reviewing as part of their catalog, so stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.